Hello, future engineers, subscribers, viewers, and students. Here is another video in Strength of Materials 3, and this is part 1. And in this video, I'm going to discuss principles and derivation of formulas under this part, such as torsional stress, maximum torsional stress formula, angle of twist, and the discussion on the shear moment diagram shortly. Although the problems under the construction of shear moment diagrams will be on the next part. So I'll discuss torsion on shafts. So consider a shaft that is fixed at one end and subjected to a torque T shown in the figure. And initially, before this load is applied, so we have a circular section, the length is L as shown, and it is subjected to a torque T as shown. Because of this applied torque, the original horizontal line on its surface of this shaft, will warp as shown in the figure, and because the end section is circular, the reaction, by the way, here is also T as shown, and this end will have a shearing deformation, which is denoted by lambda as shown in the figure, and the end will be projected as shown with this deformation on the surface of the circular shaft. So project it there, and the angle here of twist is denoted by theta, and the length, if the distance from the center of the circular section of the shaft to that point is rho. So that's ds, this part here. This is also ds, and ds is equal to radius times central angle, remember from plane geometry. So if that is r, uh, then ds is r uh, theta. So that's the radius, and we have a differential element of area dA, and acting there would be the differential force due to shear, which is equal to the shear stress at that point times the differential area of that point, and that force would be perpendicular to that radius. So if the radius is denoted by rho, then the moment of this differential force shear stress dA about the center is equal to shear stress dA times rho. And therefore, this torque here should be the sum of the moments of this differential force tau dA times rho. And of course, we use summation notation, and we convert that to an integral sign. So therefore, torque equals integral of the sum of the moments of the components, which is represented by tau dA, differential force, times moment arm rho. So torque equals integral of tau dA times rho. So rearranging and noting that the shear stress uh, distribution is linear, zero at the center because there's no moment arm there, and maximum at the outer fiber of the circular shaft. So because of that idea, we have to apply similar triangles as shown. Then the shear stress at that level at distance rho from the center, and just enlarging it, then the radius is small r, and the maximum shear stress occurs on this fiber here, call it tau max. So by similar triangles, uh, shear stress as to rho equals tau max as to r, Then therefore tau is this shear stress at that point, at any point, is tau max times rho over r. Replacing tau by tau max rho over r in this expression, integral expression, and putting tau max over r before the integral sign, then we'll have tau max over r integral of rho square dA. So take note that this expression integral of constant distance square or r square, distance from the center, dA is an expression for the moment of inertia of area, plane area with respect to an axis through the center of that area and perpendicular to the area. So therefore, from statics, this is denoted, or from integral calculus, this expression is the polar moment of inertia denoted by IO, IZ, or JO. So we will replace this by simply J. So torque therefore equals tau max times J over R. So that shear stress is from this expression. In general, shear stress is equal to torque from here. So if I replace this by just tau, so, and this one should be rho. So torque equals, shear stress rather, is equal to torque times rho divided by J. And tau max is equal to torque R over J. So we replace tau max by tau, R by rho from this expression here, and it comes from actually here. Then we have these two expressions. This is the general expression or formula for shear stress at any point from the center of the circular shaft, and this is for the maximum expression. So that you can easily memorize this formula, I suggest that you read this as uh, shear stress equals torque rho to rho. There's a Visayan term for this which is easy to recall. While tau max is torjak or terahe. You can read that way so that you can memorize the formula easily. So since the, what we call this, the polar moment of inertia is Ix plus Iy, and for circular section, Ix equals Iy equals, in terms of diameter, pi over 64 diameter to the fourth, so that J is double that value, so 30 pi over 32 diameter to the fourth, and radius is diameter over 2. So for solid shafts, therefore, tau max is equal to 16 torque over pi diameter cube. So again, you replace R by diameter over 2, d small d over 2, J by pi over 32 diameter to the fourth, and arrive or derive this expression for solid shafts. So this is for solid circular shafts. Now for hollow circular shafts, the outer fiber would be capital D over 2, and the polar moment of inertia would be pi over 32 quantity big diameter to the fourth minus small diameter to the fourth, so that D cannot be cancelled. So therefore, for hollow circular shafts, again, replace small r by big D, big diameter over 2. Then J here is pi over 32 times the quantity big diameter to the fourth minus small diameter to the fourth, and arrive at tau max equals, for hollow shafts, circular shafts, 16 torque capital diameter over pi quantity big diameter to the fourth minus small diameter to the fourth. So this is for hollow solid circular shafts. So from um, Hooke's law, and for the case where we have strain or shear stress proportional to shear strain, remember the relationship shear stress equals shear modulus times strain, shear strain. So that replacing this shear stress here by torque to rho, remember from above, torque rho over J, and we have G, and shear strain from this expression here is if the radius is rho, then this displacement is radius rho times theta. Then the original length is L. So therefore, this shear strain here is defined as rho theta, the displacement of this arc, divided by length L. So that's the shear strain. Cancel out rho. Then the formula for theta, expression for theta. So we have torque over J equals G theta over L. So that finally the angle of twist is theta TL over GJ. So TL over GJ. And for you to, that's the angle of twist in radians. For you to easily recognize or memorize this formula, I suggest that you read this as TL ni GJ. That's the name. Or the other way is si theta i-jerjer tulo lagi ang labas. So theta equals TL over GJ. That's the original. And you can easily recall this formula by reading si Tita ba sa kanto-kanto. Gijerjer. Kaya mo, huwag kayong magpa, basta-basta kay Tita. Delikado yan si Tita. Pag i-jerjer, magka ganito ka. TL. So again, theta equals TL over GJ. Torque length over GJ. So for this case, I need to discuss this very briefly because I already presented this in my different playlist in structural analysis, in mechanics of materials playlist, and this time again in this review material. So we have shear and moment in beams. So this is the shear diagram. Take note that at start we have to compute for the reactions first. So that's the shear diagram versus X, so that we rise by equal to R1. If the reaction there is R1, then because of the loading here, we subtract, and this is the typical shear moment, shear diagram for that beam loaded up there. So it should close. Then if this is the moment diagram, remember at zero shear, we have maximum moment. So that's corresponds to at the highest point of the moment diagram, that corresponds to shear, and it will be discussed as we move on. So this is the negative of R2, so that it closes. So we have here a section loading X1 from the left portion of the beam. This support here may be treated as the origin. So the leftmost point is the origin. So that distance is X1, and we have another point X2, another section X2. And let's consider the load between these two distances, and we consider a strip And of course, the thickness of the strip is dx, and the load would now be of uniform intensity W. But that W there is negative because it is downward. Thickness is dx, remember, and then we have to consider and magnify this part of this beam there, and let's analyze the forces, internal forces on that beam. So the neutral axis, then we have here the loading, which is shaded blue, and I will shade that blue also later, and the height, which is the intensity of the loading, is W, the thickness is dx, remember. And then we have shear here, positive shear, remember, at the left is up, positive shear at the right is down. And because of the loading, we have here, so that's V, shear. Because of the loading, then the shear at the right section, which is positive downward, remember the sign convention, is shear at the left, then plus the change in shear, which is dV. So the load is, since the intensity of the load is W, thickness is dx, so it is W dx as shown. Because this is rectangular, it acts at half of dx. So likewise, the moment at the left is positive clockwise m, then at the right, the moment should be, which is counterclockwise positive, is equal to m plus differential m. So this is the shear at section 1, and the intensity of the loading is denoted by V1. Likewise, at this point here, the intensity or the ordinate is V sub 2, shear 2, and this difference would be V2 minus V1. That's delta V. So that if we have here the neutral axis, and I'll call the right end as point A, and then we have summation forces vertical equals 0. We have this element, and remember this is in equilibrium, so summation forces vertical equals 0. So our equation would be V equals W dx plus V plus dV. Cancel out V, so we have dV dx, derivative of shear with respect to x is negative of W. So this means because the derivative of shear with respect to x is slope of tangent to the shear curve. So the slope of the tangent to the shear curve is simply the intensity of the load, the negative intensity of the load. So it is just the intensity of the load. And in this case, we treated W as positive, but because it's downward, it should be negative. So again, the slope of the tangent to the shear diagram, shear curve, is simply the ordinate of the loading above. So if we have W there, the tangent at this point is equal to the W, and W is treated negative. So we have here the tangent at this point is, if this is W1, then that's W1, that's negative. If this is denoted W2, then the slope here is W2. So that's why we have here W2. So to continue, the slope at this point represented by this tangent, red tangent, because if we project above, it is W in general, so the slope is the negative of that W from this result here. So remember, slope of the shear curve is the intensity of the load above. So from here, dv equals negative w dx. So integrating, integral of dv is v, it limits from v1 to v2. Then the right side should be interpreted as simply, because the product of w and dx is area. So take note, limits from x1 to x2. So this is delta v, v2 minus v1 delta v. And the right side, take note, integral of w dx is the sum of the product of w and dx, because we interpret this geometrically as the area of this strip. So that means the right side is, that's the sum of these areas of strips. So the right side therefore is interpreted as simply the area of the load diagram between x1 and x2. So the change in shear therefore corresponds to the area of the load diagram between x1 and x2. So that's the interpretation. v2 minus v1 delta v equals the negative from x1 to x2 of w dx. And what is w dx? That's the area of the load diagram between x1 and x2. So it is represented by blue. So I shade this entire area by blue. The area of that is the change in shear delta V, which is V sub 2 minus V sub 1. And of course, V sub 2 minus V sub 1 is negative. Why negative? Because it's also negative here. The negative of that area if you treat W as positive. So I hope that you can remember it. Then likewise, we proceed to the next part, which is we project this downward, and this is M1. This is also projected downward. So we have here M1, and on this end M2, and of course the vertical distance between M1 and M2 is delta M, or M2 minus M1 in particular. So summation of moments about A equals 0, clockwise positive, our equation would be shear times dx plus m, then equals m plus dm. Shear plus dv has no moment about A, it crosses. M plus dm equals m plus dm plus w dx times dx over 2. So again, v times dx, which is that, plus m, then equals m plus dm plus the moment of w dx, which is w dx times dx over 2. But from calculus, specifically on the topic differentials, remember that the product of differentials is 0. Differential x is a very, very small quantity multiplied by another very, very small quantity, it becomes negligible. Then divided by 2, so it becomes 0. Negligible or 0. So we cancel out m, then simplifying, we have shear dx equals dm. That is 0. So that means derivative of moment with respect to x is shear. Again, this is the slope. When you differentiate the function, it represents slope of the tangent to that, to the graph or to the curve, moment versus x curve, or the moment diagram. So the slope in the moment diagram corresponds to the shear in the value of shear. So if at the initial point, the shear, which is R1, the tangent here will have a slope of R1 also. That at this point, because the shear is shear sub 1, then the slope of the tangent here is shear sub 1. Here it is shear sub 2. And at the highest point, because the shear is 0, that's why the tangent to the moment curve is horizontal. It also have 0 slope. So dm dx, slope in the moment diagram, which corresponds to the shear V. above. So I hope you can remember slope in the shear diagram, intensity of the load above, or ordinates of the load above. Then slope in the moment diagram, ordinates of the shear above. So it's easy to recall also. So we have here the slope at this point, R1. At this end here, the shear is negative R2, so the slope is also negative R2. And that's negative slope up to the left, right? Then at M, the slope is shear 1. The slope is shear 1. Then at this point, the slope is shear sub 2. And at the highest point, the slope, the tangent is horizontal. So that's why the slope is 0 at the highest point. So dm equals, let's continue. The differential m equals shear times differential x. So we again consider a strip in the shear curve. That's the strip. The height of the strip is shear, constant. The thickness is dx. That's shear. That's dx. So therefore, differential m is shear dx, integrating integral of differential moment with limits from m1 to m2 equals integral of shear dx from x1 to x2. Again, this integral of differential m is simply delta m, and that is equal to m2 minus m1. Sorry, in this part of the uh, recording, it was brown out, so the power was lost. I just continue. So the right side again is interpreted as the area. That's the sum of the areas. Shear dx, that's the area of this strip here. So therefore, integral from x1 to x2, this is interpreted as the area of the shear diagram between x1 and x2. So it is this area here, and that is equal to the change in moment m2 minus m1, this delta m here. So m2 minus m1, which is delta m, is equal to the area of the shear diagram between 1 and 2, and it is denoted by green, so I also shade this part with green region. So that means that the change in moment between 2 points is equal to the area of the shear diagram above. So we have here the shaded portion, W1, W2. So that's it for this part. So the principles here will be used in the design of beams, though problems are still on shear stress and angle of twist. It will be discussed when we'll have beams. Not in this part because it will be too lengthy if I'm going to consider those topics. So criteria in the design of beams. First, we have bending or flexure. So we have the bending stress formula, remember, which is my over I in general. So we have here a section in general, and the once the neutral axis has been located, then the distance to the upper fiber is denoted by C sub T, C sub top, and from the bottom, neutral axis to the bottom, C sub B. And remember, the positive bending would be smiley as shown in the figure, where at the top fiber it is in compression and at the bottom fiber it is in tension. So therefore, bending stress or flexural stress in compression, if this is the bending positive moment, is moment C top over I. This is a review, so there's no need to derive this. The derivation is in mechanics of materials or strength of materials, and I hope you can recall this. Then flexural stress or bending stress, bottom, which is in tension, is, if this is the positive bending, is moment C bottom over I. And remember the moment of inertia of common sections such as rectangular and circular sections, as well as triangular sections. So next, we have to consider in general an area to be considered. So this is the section area above or below the neutral axis. So in this representation, I consider an area denoted by area prime, which is above the neutral axis, but not necessarily beginning at the neutral axis. So this is just above the neutral axis, and the centroid of that area is located from the neutral axis a distance of y. So that's the distance. By the way, the bending stress formula in when the section is rectangular is, if you replace C by h over 2 and I by bh cubed over 12, it becomes 6m over bh squared. And this assumes that the bending stress for compression and tension would be the same. Again, for rectangular section with isotropic property, meaning the bending stress in tension is also equal to the bending stress in compression. And you can use this for rectangular section, rectangular solid section. So this formula can be derived if you replace C by h over 2 and moment of inertia bh cubed over 12. So you will have that result. So that's for rectangular sections, rectangular beams. Then for shearing, and we have VQ over IB. Remember, var VQ over IB, the formula. So the derivation is again in the subject strength of materials. And for you to easily remember this, you may replace shear stress symbol tau here by small letter v, and that corresponds to shear stress also. So that you can read the formula as var VQ over eta B or IB. So simply that's var VQ. You have to ask for it because var VQ is tasty. Chicken barbecue or pork barbecue would be tasty. So var VQ eta B to easily recall it. But you have to define Q, which is the static moment of area. So therefore, it is just area prime times y. So remember, y is the distance from the neutral axis to the centroid of the area. So we define that as the static moment of area above or below the neutral axis with respect to the neutral axis. So for rectangular sections, replacing Q by area above the neutral axis, if this rectangular, would be b times h over 2, and y would be h over 4, or depth over 4. We replace q by bd over 2 times d over 4, moment of inertia bd cubed over 12, and simplifying, you will have a formula for shear stress for rectangular section equal to 3 times V over 2 BD. So that's the result. And this is for maximum shear stress, which occurs at the neutral axis for rectangular sections only. This is for the general section, and this one for rectangular sections. So 3V over 2BD, or 3 times maximum shear, or 3 times shear over 2A. So remember that. Next, for deflection, there are only two load cases where you have to recall. One for beam that is entirely loaded with uniform load, and therefore the maximum deflection which occurs at the center of the beam equals 5W L to the fourth over 384 EI. I hope that you can recall this from structural analysis or from mechanics of materials, where this formula is derived in multiple ways. So that's for the case uniformly distributed load over the entire simple span. Likewise, when the beam simply supported beam and the simple supports are at the ends, and we have a load at the center which is P, then the maximum deflection is PL cube over 48 EI. So PL cube over 48 EI. So that's it. Remember that in these formulas, to maximize the values, M shear should be maximum, and in this formula here, simply supported, and the supports are at the ends, and for this case, entirely loaded, uniformly loaded, 5WL to the fourth over 384 EI. When the concentrated load is acting at the center or midspan, it is PL cube over 48 EI. So I hope you can remember that. So let's now have the first problem to be presented or solved here. The assembly is made of A36 steel, where the shear modulus of elasticity is 75 gigapascals and consists of a solid rod 20 millimeters in diameter fixed to the inside of the tube using a rigid disc at B. So take note that this part is hollow, and this solid circular shaft is fixed at B there, and it is only fixed at that point. This 150 Newton meter torque acts on this hollow part. So it has nothing to do with or it has no effect with this solid circular shaft BCD. This one acts only in portion BC. And remember, this ABC here is originally hollow, and there is just this inside this here, so that this solid shaft BCD could be attached fixedly on the disc B. So determine the maximum stress in the hollow portion, so here, and the angle of twist at B, the angle of twist at C. So 5A, 5B, 5C, and 5D. The tube has an outer diameter of 40 mm and a wall thickness of 5 mm. Therefore, the outer radius is 20 and the inner radius is 15. That's the other way. So first, for the maximum stress in the hollow portion, formula, remember, is tau max equals 16 torque times outer diameter all over GJ, where G is 75,000 megapascals to be consistent, and J is pi over 32 outer diameter to the fourth minus inner diameter to the fourth, or is also pi over 2 quantity outer radius to the fourth minus inner radius to the fourth. Then we multiply the entire value or expression by 180 degrees over pi radians to convert the angle of twist to degrees. So theta b is the, of course, if we draw the torque diagram, so this is negative. If you apply right thumb rule, negative 60, then this is positive 150. Therefore, the reaction here is negative 90. Or in short, in portion AB, the torque is 90 Newton meter. So I hope you can analyze that. So the reaction is 90 Newton meter. I just treat it positive. It should be negative, but I'll just treat it positive, so that the angle of twist can be expressed positively also. So the what's important is in portion AB, the torque is 90 Newton meter. And because this is a hollow shaft, formula would be TL over GJ, remember? So where torque is 90 Newton meter, so 90,000 Newton millimeter. The length is, because that is fixed, is 400 mm. Then remember, this is the factor to convert from radians to degrees, 180 degrees over pi. G is 75 gigapascals. In megapascals, to be consistent with the units, 75,000 megapascals or Newton per mm square. And this is the polar moment of inertia J. Instead of pi over 32 outer diameter to the fourth minus inner diameter to the fourth, I just use pi over 2 quantity outer radius to the fourth minus inner radius to the fourth. You can change this to pi over 32, then 40 to the fourth minus 30 to the fourth if you want. So solving for theta b is equal to 0.1601 degree. So 0.1601 degree. Next, 1b, 1a, 1b, 1c, 1d. The, the angle of twist at C. So the question would be angle of twist at C. Just the angle of twist at C. So the angle of twist at C would be, this is C, and remember that the torque between B and C would now be 150. So 150 between B and C. So it is 150. Imagine that B has been displaced by an angle 0.1601, and because this is 90, 150, so it is increased further. So it if it was 90 here, then plus 150. So theta C is equal to 0.1601 plus the additional angle of twist in portion BC, where the couple or torque is 150 Newton meter. So it is hollow. So the torque is 150 Newton meter converted to Newton mm. So 150,000 Newton mm. The length is 100 mm, zero point 1 meter or 100 mm. Conversion factor divided by G. Then because this is again hollow, pi over 2 in outer radius to the fourth minus inner radius to the fourth. So that would be equal to theta C So that's the reaction there, 90.1601 plus 0.06670 degree. Combining theta C would be 0.2268 degree. Then lastly, at D, angle of twist at D, uh, it is now opposite. So it is equal to negative. We treat the preceding value in portion B. Remember that BCD is attached at B, this B, and this 150 here, this 150 here has nothing to do with the extension for the angle of twist at D. So it is theta B, then plus the result here, which is opposite because this is now 60 Newton meter. So its effect is opposite. So that's why I treated the angle of twist at B to be negative 0.1601 from there. And because we expect that the angle of twist in portion BD is greater because it's slender, narrow section. So I treat that as plus. The moment is 60 or the torque is 60. Then the length is 400 from B to D. Remember, 0.1 plus 0.3 is 400.4 meter or 400 mm. Conversion factor divided by G. And because it is now solid with radius 10 mm, the rod is 20 mm in diameter, so 10 mm in radius. So 75,000, then pi over 2, 10 to the fourth. So that would be equal to negative 0.1601 degree plus 1.167 degrees. Combining theta D would be equal to 1.007 degrees. So that's it for this problem. So problem 2, the motor delivers 40 horsepower to the stainless steel shaft where the shear modulus of elasticity is 75.8 gigapascals while it rotates at 20 hertz. 20 hertz means cycles per second or revolution per second. The shaft is supported on smooth bearings at A and B, which allow free rotation of the shaft. The gears C and D fixed to the shaft remove uh, 25 horsepower and 15 horsepower respectively. Determine the diameter of the shaft to the nearest 3 millimeters if the allowable shear stress is 55 megapascals and the allowable angle of twist of C is with respect to D is 0.20 0.2 or 0.20 degree. So let's compute for the torque at the motor side at C and at D. And remember, torque is equal or power is equal to torque times angular speed in radians per second. And we are given here revolutions per second or hertz or cycle per second. So the formula for omega in radians per second would be 2 pi times frequency. This is called frequency. So power equals torque times omega, and omega is 2 pi times frequency, where the frequency is 20 hertz. So at the motor side, we have 40 horsepower times 746 watts per horsepower. Remember, that's the conversion. Equals torque uh, generated by the motor times 2 pi times frequency 20. So torque at the motor side, which is that's the fixed end, 237.46 Newton meter. Then at C, just replace this by 25. So 20. By the way, the allowable stress is shear stress is 55 megapascals, and this is equated because this is the maximum torque. So 55 should be greater equal to 16 torque over pi diameter cubed. So that's the formula. And this is the torque converted to Newton mm, then pi diameter cubed. So the diameter should be greater, equal to, this is in mm, so 28.02 mm. Then let's use the other design criterion, which is based on angle of twist. So for the torque at C, the power is 25 times 746, just like above. Torque C times 2 pi times 20, so torque at C is 148.4 Newton meter. Then at D, 15 times 746 equals torque at D times 2 pi times 20, so torque at D is 89.05 Newton meter. So the angle of twist, uh, allowable angle of twist at C with respect to D, so C relative to D, theta CD equals torque length over GJ. So it's torque portion CD, and the torque in portion CD is equal to 0.2 times pi over 180 degrees. To convert it to radians, 89.05. That's the torque CD. Then 89.05. Imagine that C is fixed, so the torque at D is 89.05. And that's also equal to 237.46 minus 148.4. That's 89.05, more or less. Then times 1000 to convert 89.05 to Newton mm to be consistent with the units. Then the length in portion CD is 0.2 meter or 200 mm divided by G, which is 75,800 megapascals. Then polar moment of inertia for solid shaft, pi over 32 diameter to the fourth. So the diameter should be greater equal to 28.78 mm. That because this is slightly greater than the value there, and this should be greater than this value. So this controls, and therefore the final answer for D, because it is mentioned here that the diameter should be rounded up. So of course, common sense, rounded up, because this is the size of the shaft. So the safer would be the bigger. So plus 3. So if we imagine this is already 29 plus 3, so that's 32. So this should be equal to 32 mm. Problem 3. The 80 mm diameter shaft of an aluminum alloy with shear modulus 26 gigapascals and subjected to the torsional loading shown. Determine the angle of twist at end A and the maximum stress. So this is the given figure, and we have here a uniform torque in kilonewton meter per meter, and let's call this X. So we have differential X for a differential element so that the torque will be constant in front and at the end of that section. So for the maximum torque, we have, by right thumb rule, this is -2, and since this is uniform at 10 kilonewton meter per meter, it is also negative by right thumb rule times 0.6. So -2 for the maximum torque, which occurs at the fixed support, -2, then -10 times 0.6. That's the torsion at C. So it is -8 kilonewton meter. So I'll just make this positive, and maximum torsional stress is 16 times torque divided by pi diameter cube for solid shaft. So 16.8 times 1,000 squared to convert torque to Newton mm divided by pi 80 mm quantity cube. So this is newtons per mm square or megapascals, and it is equal to 79.58 megapascals. Now for the angle of twist, for AB, it is constant at 2 kilonewton meter. So at B, we just imagine that B is fixed and the torque is 2. So TL over GJ, that's the formula summation of TL over GJ. We're looking for the maximum angle of twist at A. So first, remember, we have here a torque that is constant at varying at 10 kilonewton meter per meter. So we use integration for that part. Torque, which is 10x plus 2, but this is treated uh, positive. So torque BC, LBC over GJ for portion BC, then plus in portion AB, torque in AB, length AB over GJ. So this is by integration because we have we have a load torque which is per unit length. So theta A is integral from 0 to 0.6 of 2 plus 10x, so 10 times x, quantity dx, then this is kilonewton meter times meter, so kilonewton meter square. We multiply 1000 cube to convert it to Newton mm square. Then this is the conversion factor to convert it to degrees. Then G 26,000 megapascals. Then J pi over 3280 to the fourth for the solid shaft. Then plus the torque here in AB is constant to kilonewton meter times 1000 square to convert it to Newton mm. The length is 600 mm, 0.6 conversion factor over GJ. Same property. So the first value, by using your calculator, it is equal to 1.644 degrees, and the second one is 0.6576 degrees. Combining, theta A is equal to 2.302 degrees. Problem 4. The rigid horizontal slab is attached to two identical copper rods. There is a gap delta 0.18 mm between the middle bar, which is made of aluminum, and the slab. Neglecting the mass of the slab, calculate the stress in each rod when the temperature in the assembly is increased by 85 degrees Celsius. Use the following data. Also compute the final length of the aluminum rod. So this is the given figure, and the length of copper, each copper rod is 750 mm. That's 750 mm. So the concept or principle is we first allow each of the material to expand because we have here an increase in temperature. The formula for expansion is beta, or the coefficient of thermal expansion, linear expansion, beta, length delta T. So this is aluminum. So from this position initial to its final position, we have here the delta capital T due to temperature in aluminum. Then from initial level of each copper rod to its final level, this orange here, that's delta T due to temperature change. Then the blue one is an extension because the expansion of the aluminum rod is longer. So as a result, the copper rods, each of the copper rods will be stretched further, and this is tensile stress. That the blue one, that is deformation due to tensile stress in each of the copper rod. And because of that resistance, the aluminum bar will be subjected to compression, so it will go back to its final level, which is here, and it is subjected to compressive stress. And the distance from final end to this final level here would be the deformation due to compressive stress in the aluminum bar as shown. So this is temperature deformation due to temperature in copper. This is deformation due to stress in copper, tensile stress in copper. Then this is deformation due to temperature expansion in the aluminum rod. Then it goes back to this final level, deformation due to stress, compressive stress in the aluminum bar. So from the figure, our equation is delta temperature of aluminum minus delta, which is 0.18, minus delta A due to stress in aluminum equals this remaining deformation, which is delta Cu due to stress in copper rods, and this is delta Tcu due to thermal expansion of each of the copper rod. So these are the properties. Therefore, this is the equation. Delta temperature A equals 23 beta or alpha, 23.1 times 10 to the negative 6. Length is of the aluminum is equal to 749 749.82. 750 minus 750 minus delta 0.18, then delta T is equal to 85, so it is equal to 1.4723 mm. Delta Cu due to temperature is 16.8 times 10 to the negative 6, 750 times 85, and that is equal to 1.071 mm. So substitute into the formulated equation, delta TA minus delta A equals delta Cu plus delta TCu. So P sub A is equal to, because this will be compressed and there are two forces, tensile forces for the copper rod. So P sub A compression equals 2 times P sub Cu tension. So 1.4723 delta TA minus delta 0.18 minus delta A equals this deformation here, delta Cu plus delta TCu, which is 1.071. So simplifying, 0.2213 equals delta A plus delta Cu. Delta A is force in aluminum, length of aluminum divided by AE of aluminum, P of copper, length of copper divided by area E of copper. So 0.2213 equals P of aluminum's length of aluminum originally is 749.82 over 400 plus times 70,000 E of aluminum rod, then plus force in the copper rod, then length 750 over area of copper rod 500, then 120,000 modulus of elasticity in megapascals. Substituting P sub A, which is 2 times PCU, and solving for P sub Cu, then we can now compute P sub Cu equal to 3,350 newtons. So force in aluminum times 2 of that, 6,700 newtons. We can now compute the stress in the aluminum rod, which is equal to 6,700 divided by area 400. So stress in aluminum, 6,700 over 400. That is equal to 16.75 megapascals compression. This one, compression. And these two copper rods will be in tension. Stress in copper rod is force 350 divided by area 500. So stress in the copper rod would be equal to 6.700 megapascals tension. Then finally, the final length of the aluminum rod, is, we may start at 750, then add these two deformation, delta CU and delta TCU. So delta CU, already stress in CU, length over E. So L final of aluminum is 750. This is delta CU, which is stress in copper, length 750 divided by E, then plus uh, delta CU, which is 1.071. So therefore, the final length of aluminum rod is 751.113 mm. Problem 5. A steel shaft with a constant diameter of 60 mm is loaded by torques applied as shown using shear modulus of elasticity of 83 gigapascals, which of the following gives the 5A torque applied on the right side if the allowable shearing stress is not to exceed 23.58 megapascals, reaction at the support, and the angle of twist. So let's draw the torque diagram. So this is negative. If you follow right hand rule, negative T, then plus 1.25. So negative, then 0.25 T, then minus 1.5 T. So negative 1.25 T would be the maximum torque. And therefore, this is because the shafts are made of the same material, steel, and they have of the same diameter. We just divide it by segments. So this portion of the steel segment will be the most stressed segment. So therefore, the torque is treated 1.25 T. Although it's negative, you just make it positive. Shear stress is 16 torque over pi diameter cube for solid shafts. So 23.58 should be greater equal to 16 torque over pi 60 cube. So from here, we can solve for the safe torque, which is equal to 800,051 Newton mm, and in Newton meter, that's 800.05 Newton meter. So since the question is the applied torque applied on the right side, so this is the torque on the right side, which is T, and that's the value, so therefore it is 800.05 Newton meter. For B, reaction at the support, the reaction at the support is 1.25 of the torque, so 1.25 times 800.05, that is equal to 1000 Newton meter. Then finally, the angle of twist. The angle of twist is summation of torque length over GJ. Torque length and GJ are constant in this problem, so we have summation torque length over GJ. So torque, we have different torques here. Let's treat negative, negative, positive, positive. So this is negative 1.25 of 800.05. So this is 1000. This is 200.25 of 800.05. And this is 800.05. So negative 1000, positive 200, negative 800 Newton meter. And let's convert that to Newton mm. So torque equals, this is common, we multiply everything by 1000 square to make the unit here 3 kilonewton meter times, this is 3 meters and this is 1000. 1.25 of 800 is negative 1000 Newton meter times 3 meters. So this is negative 1000 Newton meter times 3 meters, so negative 1000 Newton meter square. That's why we multiply 1000 square, which is common to all these values in torque times length. So the middle is 0.25 times 800, so the 200 Newton meter, positive. Length 3 meters, then on the right segment, negative D, so negative 800.05, I just make it 800 times length 2, then factor 180 degrees over pi to convert the results radians to degrees, divided by G 83,000 megapascals, then J pi over 32, 6 diameter to the fourth for solid shaft. Solving, it is equal to negative 2.170 degrees. Let's make that positive 2.170 degrees. Problem 6. The aluminum rod AB of shear modulus 27 gigapascals is bonded to the brass rod BD of shear modulus 39 gigapascals. Knowing that CD of the brass rod is hollow and has inner diameter of 40 mm, determine the maximum stress in segment AB, maximum stress in segment BC, the maximum stress in segment CD, the angle of twist at C, the angle of twist at B, and the angle of twist at A. So this is the figure. So for the maximum stress in AB, so this is AB, if you cut a section here, so the torque is 800 Newton meter. It is supposedly negative, but let's just treat it positive because anyway, you're just computing for the stress. So 16 torque over pi diameter cube, the formula for solid shaft, maximum torsional stress. The diameter is 36. So tau AB is equal to 16 torque 800 Newton meter times 1000 to convert it to Newton mm divided by pi 36 mm quantity cube. So shear stress in AB is equal to 87.33 megapascals. Then for BC, again a solid shaft, and the torque here, if you cut a section, we have negative 800 and negative 1600, so negative 2400, which is treated positive. So 16 2400 times 1000 over pi 60 cube. It is solid BC and the diameter is 60. So maximum shear stress in portion BC is 56.59 megapascals. Then for CD, it is hollow. Tau max is 16 torque. The torque is also 2400 negative but treated positive again. 16 torque, outer diameter which is 60, then divided by pi quantity outer diameter to the fourth minus inner diameter to the fourth. So tau CD is 16, torque 2400, outer diameter 60 mm times 1000 to convert it to Newton mm, the 2200 Newton meter torque, divided by pi quantity outer diameter to the fourth minus inner diameter to the fourth. So maximum shear stress in CD is 70.52 megapascals. The angle of twist at C. So this is C and the reaction here is 2400. So 2400 torque length over GJ. So theta C is torque 2400 times 1000 to convert it to Newton mm. The length is 250 mm, 0.25 meter, 250 mm. Conversion factor 180 degrees over pi divided by G of the brass rod BD, which is 39 gigapascals or 39 megapascals. Then polar moment of inertia for hollow shaft, pi over 32 quantity outer diameter to the fourth minus inner diameter to the fourth. So theta C in degrees is 0.8633 degrees. Then for angle of twist at B, it is angle of twist at C. Then the net torque here, 2400 again, solid. So theta B is equal to 2400 times 1000 times 375, the length, plus 0.8633 degrees, plus 2400, 1000, length, 375, then conversion factor divided by G, 39,000, then polar moment of inertia of solid shaft, pi over 32, diameter 60 to the fourth. So that would be 0.8633 plus 1.039. Combining, theta B is 1.902 degrees. Then for angle of twist at A, it is 1.902 degrees. Then plus the torque acting in AB is 800. You just cut a section, then analyze the torque that is acting. It is 800 in the same direction. So we add it to 1.902. So 1.902 theta A, 1.902 plus 800 times length 1000 to convert it to Newton mm, length 400 mm, conversion factor divided by G of aluminum rod 27,000 megapascals, then polar moment of inertia pi over 32, diameter 36 mm raised to 4 for solid shaft. So that would be 1.902 degrees plus 4.118 degrees combining, so that's 6.020 degrees. So that's it for this video.